James Talberg, and I'm here again with Ruslan Bortnik, political scientist, political expert, and the director of the Ukrainian Institute of Politics. Ruslan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for such a kind invitation and for creating such a space for me to share some information and knowledge. Thank you.
Absolutely. Ruslan, I would like to summarize with you the most important political events that have happened in Ukraine and around Ukraine in the past week and a half. And I would like to start with the outcomes of the negotiations between the United States and Ukraine in Saudi Arabia. What results can we take from those negotiations, and what the sides have agreed during these negotiations?
I think these results, of course, are very important, but they are overestimated at the same time also. Why I'm talking about? I'm talking about, my opinion is grounded on it that we haven't signed any agreement or any official document. When we are talking about the common statement, exactly common statement, which was made by the sides, by the United States and by Ukrainian sides, it's only a statement. It's not even a declaration. It's not an official document. It's not agreement or something like this. We have only a common public position, common statement. That's all. Moreover, if you are considering this common statement more carefully, we will find that there are a lot of wills, there are a lot of directions, but there are not so much agreed positions between the sides. It looks like for me that, of course, Ukraine was not able to reject this direction and approach which was prepared by the United States administration, because we all remember that scandal which happened in February 2028 in Oval Room of White House between the presidents of Ukraine and the presidents of United States. And we remember the time before that scandal and after that scandal, when the both sides argued in public and made a lot of statements and theses which were crucial to each other, which were very criticized each other. So in this situation, and after all this, or after that scandal, we remember that the United States frozen the military aid for Ukraine, the changing of sharing the intelligence information for Ukraine, and so on and so on. It's one part of the story. And other part of the story, at the same time, Ukrainian forces were in very weak position in Kursk region when Ukraine was losing a lot of territories, settlements, and soldiers, and so on. And in this environment, Zelensky came to Jeddah, not personally, but Ukrainian delegation came to Jeddah. And of course, just imagine the situation if Ukraine would reject the United States approach. I think it could lead the situation just to catastrophe for Ukraine, because it could not only fully stop the American support for Ukraine, but it could also open the road to the straight deal, bilateral deal between the United States and Russian Federation. So in this circumstance, Zelensky was not able to reject any United States approach, any Trump's approach, but he tried to trade as much as he could at that moment. He tried to change something important from United States or on his agreement on the possible ceasefire. The main thing, of course, in that common statement, it's a Ukrainian will or Ukrainian readiness to accept the 30-day ceasefire. But I want to emphasize one more. There is no ability, there is no guarantee from Ukrainian side that Ukraine will sign any ceasefire in the end. Ukraine expressed only a will, only its readiness to sign this agreement. And otherwise, United States unfrozen the military aid and intelligence support from Ukraine. And there are a lot of positions which were not supported by two sides. For example, Ukraine insisted on European participation in negotiation, but the United States hasn't supported it. This is an only Ukrainian position. Ukraine insisted in that common statement on some humanitarian issues, like example about the kids, about the prisoners of the war, and captured persons, and so on. But this is only an Ukrainian positions. And extremely important that a lot of previously very important things for Ukraine were absent in this document. There is nothing about the security guarantees. There is no anything about the borders of 1991 for Ukraine. There is no anything about NATO for Ukraine. And of course, this case, this example that when Ukraine is ready to accept the ceasefire, it's also a very dramatical pivot in Ukrainian informational policy if we are comparing the last 3 years. So Ukraine made a lot of concessions toward the United States because Ukraine was not able to reject any United States propositions, and but at the same time, there is no guarantees from Ukrainian government, and there are no any obligations, strict obligations from Ukrainian government that can help us to say that Ukraine will fulfill this statement, will fulfill these suggestions. I think it was also a part of the game, geopolitical game. The main goal of that game it was an attempt to throw the ball to Russia, to move this responsibility for the future of the peace and war toward to Russia from Ukrainian shoulders, because nowadays American administration said a lot about Ukraine and convinced a lot Ukraine of the absence of the peace last weeks before, and it was an attempt to throw this ball toward to Russia. Was it successful? I don't know. It doesn't look so for now.
Ruslan, I would like to summarize in a couple of bullet points what you've just mentioned, just to make the situation clear. If I understand correctly, the background of the Ukrainian position was based on the fact that Zelensky and Trump had a confrontation in the Oval Office. So basically, they couldn't disagree too much with what USA has to propose during these negotiations because they couldn't continue that path of destructions. The other thing is that there is nothing tangible that came out of those negotiations except a proposition for a 30-day ceasefire. But what I would like to confirm with you, the situation in regards to the Kursk region, that the front line there is collapsing, is that directly the outcome of the absence of the military aid from the United States to Ukraine and the share of intelligence information between the countries?
I don't know exactly, but I don't think so. This crisis around the Ukrainian presence in Kursk region started 1 month ago.
So it would have happened anyways, just depends on the time.
Yeah, maybe this absence of support, especially intelligence support, maybe it was important factor, but not crucial for this situation, because Ukraine moved the best part of troops of Ukrainian troops, which was fighting in Kursk region. Ukraine moved this part 1 month ago toward to Pokrovsk and other regions. So this entire Ukrainian unity, military unity in Kursk region was in not a good shape at the moment of intensification of Russian counteroffensive operation. And the weakening of Ukrainian troops, comparing maybe with absence of intelligence support.
So combination.
Yes, combination made such a result.
Well, we'll get back to Kursk at the end when we're going to open up the visual map and discuss the situation on the front line in details. For now, I would like to continue this with the next statement that right now the ball of a peaceful solution was passed to Russia, because before so United States was having a lot of statements saying that it's hard for them to negotiate with Ukraine because Ukraine is lacking enough of peaceful initiative. So at the moment, they kind of have agreed that Ukraine is on board with peaceful initiatives, and they have passed the ball to Putin with this 30-day ceasefire. Putin has agreed to a 30-day ceasefire, or positively reacted to a 30-day ceasefire.
Not also exactly. Putin is also, I think Putin is also very clear, understands this game. So he also hasn't rejected American
suggestion. I think that would be the best way to put it out. He hasn't rejected the offer.
But he made a lot of additional conditions.
So that's exactly what I would like to break down. What do you make of those conditions and statements that have to be met in order to proceed with that ceasefire?
As I look at these conditions which Putin made officially in public during his press conference with the Belarusian president of Lukashenko, I think it's only a part of these conditions, but only about this part we are able to speak today. But if we will take into account even this part, it's very clear that Putin is trying to stop any support for Ukraine, and Putin is trying to use possible ceasefire agreement in the dialogue and the discussion between the ceasefire agreement for achieving the final victory, in this situation. In general, there are main 5 Russian conditions on the ceasefire, which was officially stated. The first condition is about that this peaceful
needs to be resolved in a full term. Like it
has to be a very stable long-term peace.
A complete long-term peace.
It means that Russia is not going to just to sign the ceasefire. Russia is willing to sign the final peaceful agreement with the new geopolitical and military balance around the Ukrainian region. The second very...
Hold on, Ruslan, just to make a remark here, to make it very clear. Russia is not interested in to pause the conflict. They're not interested in a short-term solution. They're politically correct. They're hinting or saying that they only would like to accept a long-term solution that includes, if I understand correctly, what they have previously mentioned, that Ukraine has to be neutral, Ukraine has to have a small army, Russian capital has to flow into Ukraine, United States has to reduce its presence on the eastern borders of, on the western borders of Russia. Is that
we don't know exactly, but these conditions were part of so-called Istanbul agreement, draft agreement, and these conditions also Russia sent to the United States President Joe Biden in December 2021, before the war. This was a preliminary Russian conditions even before and during the war. We don't know exactly does Russia want the ceasefire or not, because it's very popular position point of view in the West that Russia is weakening and Russia is willing to find the ceasefire as fast as possible, and so on. But it doesn't look so. It looks otherwise. It looks so that ceasefire is very necessary and very beneficiary for Trump's administration, because it will be a victory, political victory for Trump personally, and he doesn't so much care about the future of Ukraine, the future of conflict. He needs, and now the a very fast result. And this ceasefire could be very useful for Ukraine, because Ukraine now is stepping back. We are losing our territories. We are losing our military presence in Russian territory every day. So any ceasefire may help Ukraine to make a reinforcement, and to rebuild our militaries, to make a better defense, and so on and so on. But it doesn't useful for Russia. It looks like, even taking into account that Russia is very exhausted. Russia lost a lot of people, but now she is keeping the military initiative. And so Russia is saying, I'm not ready for a ceasefire. I'm ready to sign ceasefire, but if you will take into account, and we will fulfill our preliminary conditions for the peace. So Russia is trying to rebuild this negotiation, from the negotiation about ceasefire to the negotiation on the peace deal. And the second, also very important condition which Russia made, it's that necessity of elimination the root of conflict, root of crisis. It's a very diplomatic words, but in more simpler words, it's a question about Ukrainian membership in NATO. And it's also a topic of United States military presence in Eastern Europe, in the lands, in the countries which were invited to the NATO after 1997. So it's a question of geopolitical balance, and it's absolutely bilateral United States-Russian question. Ukraine is playing very substitutional.
It's just one piece. It's just one piece of that. Yeah.
It's about geopolitical balance, military balance. But for Ukraine, it also means that Ukraine needs to exclude from our constitution the articles about the willing to be a member of NATO, for example.
Yeah, it's because I'll remember to people who are watching us, Ukraine has added that they're aiming to get at the end to NATO, like that's their will as a country, into the Ukrainian constitution. So it has to be taken out of there in order to proceed with this full peaceful plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And the third condition about Ukrainian presence in Russian territory, about in presence in internationally recognized Russian territory in Kursk region, because it looks like that Putin demanded of capitulation of Ukrainian forces in Kursk region, and or withdrawing these troops from Kursk region. And of course, Russia claimed that Ukrainian forces in Kursk region are surrounded, but it's not true. And moreover, I want to remind that Trump also supported Putin. He said he asked Putin to keep the lives of Ukrainian soldiers in Kursk region, but my sources, my military sources, are saying that there is no of any big surrounds of Ukrainian troops. Of course, there are some units which are surrounded, but it's small units. There is not a big problem for Ukraine.
It's not a massive trend yet.
Yeah. And the fourth condition, it's very sharp condition, very Jesuitic condition, as we can say. It's a condition to stop the mobilization in Ukraine. Very dramatic, very sharp topic for Ukrainian society. It's continuation of the mobilization. Now we see a lot of records of using the force during the mobilization, on absence of will from Ukrainian society, Ukrainian men to serve in the army. It's sometimes, and some it's the truth. At least it partially is absolutely true. I was talking with one of the officers of military forces of Ukraine, and he said me, I was talking with him on Friday, and he said me that the number of volunteers which are willing to serve in military forces in Ukraine now is extremely low, and it's going on to decreasing this number. And Putin is demanding the stopping of Ukrainian mobilization because I think he clearly understands that if Ukraine will stop mobilization, that it will be very hard to Ukraine to restart this mobilization because of a huge unpopularity of mobilization in Ukrainian society. Also, it will not let Ukrainian forces to use this ceasefire, to use this 30-day truce to reinforce our militaries. And the fifth condition, it's a condition against United States-Ukrainian common statement. It's a condition of a ban on arms supplies to Ukraine from the United States. So Putin demands to block the most important and only one achievement of Ukrainian government, which Ukraine obtained during the negotiation with United States in Jeddah, is unfrozen this military aid. Now Putin demands to stop this military aid, military support, stop mobilization, stop military aid, capitulation of Ukrainian forces in Russian lands, long-term peace, and new agreement on geopolitical balance around Ukraine. These are the main Russian demands which were stated officially. I think there are much more such demands behind the scenes, but we don't know about them exactly, and I am not willing to share the rumors in our podcast.
Absolutely. Ruslan, and what do you make of the 30-day ceasefire? What is your perspective specifically about that outcome? Why exactly 30 days, and what's behind it?
I think is this 1 month term is promised to Russia as a time during which the full peaceful agreement will be obtained, will be made. So because Russia and Ukraine and other sides has a very sad experience with the Minsk agreements, which were made in 2014, then 2015, and they were not fulfilled during many years. So it looks like that is Russian demands and Russian position also to make a short term for ceasefire, to make a very fast negotiation and to achieve the full scale peaceful agreement.
Ruslan, thank you so much for all the comments today, for all the insights.
You.
I think we'll have to make a separate video about the frontline situation, just to have time and break down each and specific detail in regards to what's happening there. Thank you again, and I'll see you back in the next episode.
Hope to so. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for our channel, friends, and please write down your very clever comments. I will be very lucky to answer for all of them. Thank you and bye-bye.